What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. So another one that was on our list, and well, it's kind of a local one too, at least in terms of Ohio metal, that we wanted to go over was the newest offering from Axioma, Sepsis. This comes out on the 24th of June as well on Translation Lost Records. This band formed in 2015 in Cleveland, Ohio. This is only their second full length, but it actually features some veterans of kind of the old Cleveland scene. Bassist and frontman Aaron Dallison actually was a member of Keelhaul way back in the day, which was a really awesome sludge metal band.
And I've seen them.
Yep, on Hydra Head.
I've seen them at Mickey Finn's opening, or playing with the PB Army.
Yep. I never got a chance to see Keelhaul, but I did hear about them. I was a big fan of like Hydra Head anyway. I just thought it was a cool label. That's what exposed me to Cave In and a bunch of other cool shit. But I've actually seen this band twice, and actually I ended up talking to the guitarist Justin Myers, and he said, hey, we got a new album coming out. And he actually sent it to us, and I was like, well, okay, let's check this shit out, because from what I've seen live, this band is described as post-black metal, and I think that's just because they wanted to put them under some banner, because post-black metal is accurate. It definitely has post-metal. It's definitely black metal here, but there's still sludge, because sludge did not leave them. And I don't know, like stoner doom. There's a lot going on here, and it's all dark and bleak and
gross.
Now, in terms of like, all right, stuff that you would say is more post-metal or post-black metal or whatever you want to fucking call that shit, Blood Ruminations and The Tower. Both those songs sort of illustrate that sort of songwriting dynamic. You have lots of black metal sections with like dissonant, cold riffing, but at the same time you get big, sludgy, almost stoner doom sections mixed in there. But the building dynamic, how they construct songs, very similar to just post-metal in general. Think Neurosis, the Cults of Luna.
Early Intronaut.
All that stuff. It's just how it's constructed in terms of like, you have these giant peaks and valleys where it can go from the heaviest thing imaginable, because these guitars are monstrously thick. They literally ooze out of the speaker.
Oh, yeah. It's like being slowly encased in cement. Just... Oh.
He's survived. He's fine. But mixed in with all these sludgy riffs, again, you have like this black metal atmosphere, and then these bellowed, like desperate cries in terms of the vocals, and that is definitely something that builds the mood, which the mood was already fucking dark with just the music, but you add the vocals on top. It's like, man, I hope this dude's all right.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't sound like he's okay. One of the things we were talking about earlier is, you know how most black metal has this like cold, like freezing feeling to it? This is very warm and lush, which are two words that often aren't coinciding with black metal.
Not really, but it's accurate. Like, you listen to this, it has like the production of kind of like stoner doom metal. Like, there's definitely stuff in here that reminds me a lot of Yob and Monolord, but at the same time it can switch gears and go into like cold, dissonant riffing that is the only thing you can really describe it as is very blackened. One of the strangest examples of that, and it comes at the end of the album, and it really just kind of caught me off guard, was this little interesting groovy breakdown at the end of A New Dark Age. It has these cold, dissonant tremolo riffs. Like, I mean, think of any black metal band, like, just has that sort of vibe. They're very raw sounding. There's a bit of a harmony to them, but underneath it you have this sort of playful bass line and this fun kind of bouncy groove to it.
Yeah, like a ghost noted snare type thing. It's almost really swingy, like swing sludge or swing doom or something.
But it's weird, just because you have that cold layer on top and then that sort of like warm, sort of bouncy feeling. Like, this is one of the most manic sections in a song. Like, it can't decide if it's happy or sad, but I don't care because it's well executed.
And it continues on with that swingy feeling, like in the middle of The Tower.
You don't think, you know, I'm going to shake my ass to anything black, and you just think, I'm just going to sit here and be depressed and overwhelmed by the cold emptiness of life. No, you can still boogie.
But what we're skipping on too is that this album is very melodic. A lot of like cave-in type melodies, I thought. Catchy, hooky riffs, and even though they're dark and bleak, they're still very pretty.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like, a lot of this is very atonal, and you get these giant sludgy riffs on here, but they kind of create these fun harmonies, and I don't know, it generates an interesting hook, but it keeps with the whole mood and the vibe of this, which the mood and the vibe of this is very dark, but also very energetic. Like, for something post-metal related, you generally think, well, this kind of slows down a bit, and it does in here, but for the most part, this is very busy. Like, there's a good chunk of this album where I would describe it as maybe a less busy and blackened version of Mastodon's Remission. And then even you have some like kind of death metal elements. The song Septic actually kind of sounds like a really sludgy version of Morbid Angel. So, well, think anything off of Blessed Are the Sick, but sort of played through a blackened sludge filter just to make it, well, even grimier.
Or even chaotic. The end of that song is super chaotic, like Iron Dissonance, like chaos.
But when it comes down to just slowing it down to a crawl, Emptiness of Anguish. Possibly one of the most different songs on here, because I think it's a flat out stoner doom song. Like, this sounds like a project between Yob and Neurosis. And
fair enough.
My God, it's slow. The riffs are heavier than hell. The riffs are like a series of slow motion punches, kind of like a Zack Snyder film, except I actually enjoyed it. Just giant single chords, accented drums. It moves at a fucking crawl, and it feels like the heaviest fucking thing on the earth. And again, this is where the warm production.
Yep.
Like, if this was more cold sounding and more like black metal production, I don't think it would have the weight.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking like 60 beats a minute slow here. Just slow and like a giant fucking smashing people.
I mean, yeah, very slowly. Like, he's kind of stomping through mud.
Blah, you're dead. Blah, you're also dead. And blah, you're dead.
So he only killed 3 people, but very slowly.
Very slowly.
And one thing I really like about this is the pacing of this album. The songs are very different. They don't generally pack a lot of like similar stuff in here. Like, you get just kind of wild, different songs back to back, and the drum work on here is fucking fantastic.
Top-notch. You, sir, do a great job between snare and hi-hat. Your hi-hat work is top-notch for what this is.
And, you know, again, this is generally a style of music you don't think of the drums being as busy, especially when it comes down to post-metal and bringing up, like, stoner doom. Yeah, you think, like, yeah, it's going to be slow and in the pocket, and it is in some spots, but most of the time, like, this dude is coming up with really clever fills left and right, and it really drives the songs. Now, as far as, like, you know, negatives about this or takeaways, there were only a couple, but they weren't, like, glaring. I did take issues with some of the shorter songs just because they felt like they ended very abruptly, namely Septic. Septic feels like there was more song, and it felt like it was still kind of revving up in intensity before it cuts off. And it is the shortest song on there, like just a little bit over 3 minutes, but it feels like it should have been longer.
Because of how chaotic that song is, because that song's really all over the map, so you'd think there'd be more to it. It's one of my favorite songs on the record. It's just too short. The same thing with God Extraction. God Extraction, again, beautiful, melodic, dark, heavy song. The end has this really cool, like, start-stop motif to it, which is a great dynamic, except it cuts off.
Yeah.
Just, like, out of nowhere, just like, okay, start-stop. Oh, we're done. Shit.
And it cuts off at a really catchy riff. Like, you think you're being led into another giant, awesome, more like, again, stoner, doomy kind of riff. And then it just stops, and then you're on to the next one, which the next one is the Tower, and the Tower's
kick-ass anyway,
amazing.
So it's great.
Actually, the last 3 tracks, this pretty much makes up for any sort of, you know, things that I didn't like with the last 3 tracks. I think that's some of the strongest material I've heard from this band yet. But yeah, like, in terms of, like, any takeaways, they're really minor, and it just kind of came down to, well, we kind of wanted more, which is a compliment in itself because you don't want more of shit you don't like.
Exactly.
Well, theoretically, you don't. I mean, there's people out there.
There's, you know, some stupid people out
Different strokes for stupid folks.
I mean,
that's the saying, right?
You know, it's not to say we're not stupid, because you watch Thralls.
We certainly haven't gotten any brighter.
Yeah, but I mean, I definitely want more of all these songs. All of them.
Yeah.
More. Tons more. With that being said, I'm going to give this record 4 stars. All these songs are beautiful, and I love that enormous, gigantic soundscape, but the contrast between the different variances and subgenres of metal. Like, yeah, there's definitely post-metal, there's definitely doom metal, but I like how they all kind of intertwine together and make these really awesome, dynamic, hefty songs. And like we said too, a couple of them being too short is a takeaway, but that's really my only gripe, because the production is lush and full. Very entertaining, just sour stank faces the whole time, and this is what I like about music like this. So spot on for me. If you don't yet have this record, it's out. Go get it. Buy 2 copies. Shove one in your neighbor's mailbox. Leave one at the mall. Buy this album.
I am also going to go with 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. Having seen these guys live and how massive sounding this band is live, I think they captured it really well in here. I have their debut EP, and one of my issues there was it was really compressed, especially compared to what you hear live. I think the live sound is captured here, and again, that whole contrast between warmth and cold, like it really has both going on. And I don't know, the thermostat's fucking busted, but I don't care because there's fucking amazing riffs, great songwriting dynamics, there's really good variety on here. And if you like oppressive, dark, just brooding music, that is exactly what this is. Like, as much as it's for fans of like black metal and such, it is definitely for fans of stoner doom and Neurosis and Cult of Luna, like that sort of shit. Like, this is an emotional ride, and it's all dark. So yeah, it's like a Halloween ride, and everyone's crying. And it's not because they're scared, it's because they're all depressed. Yep. So
that depression cry is unlike any other.
Yeah, it's like a good drive through Toledo, to be honest. So yeah, at night, yeah.
That's fair.
But yeah, I strongly recommend getting this one. I am probably going to buy a copy myself because a promotional copy just isn't enough. And thank you guys for sending it to us. But I'm actually going to buy a copy of your album because I want it, and this is awesome. So yeah, go get it. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there'll be a link down below. You guys have, well, probably officially less than a week if you want to contribute to our Ask Us Anything little Patreon thing. So, patrons, if you have not asked us some weird questions or regular questions, we accept both. Ask us some questions, and probably a week or so from now, we will get down to answering them, and, well, I anticipate that being a lot of fun.
That'll be neat. That'll be something we haven't necessarily done, and I once again must drive home that while you can ask us things about bands, we are hoping that you will ask us anything.
Yeah.
Literally anything. What kind of socks do we have? How many thread counts are our sheets?
11 billion.
Yep. Do we like regular potato chips or potato chips with a little more flavor? I don't know. You have to ask us that. We also have some of our nifty shirts left. If you go to thrallsofmetal.com, which you'll find down below, you can visit our new web store and get yourself a shirt. And last but not least, we are currently working on solidifying the lineup for the Denver Death Fest, taking place September 30th, October 1st, and October 2nd at the Roxy in the one and only Denver, Colorado. That's not Denver anywhere else.
Denver, Antarctica. Plane tickets are gonna be expensive.
No, we got all our submissions in. There's about 70 bands, so we gotta sift through some shit, and I will tell you, there are some definite winners on there. But yeah, that's coming up, and as we start inking in bands instead of penciling them, we will announce them here, so you will always know what's going on with Denver Death Fest.
And as always, thank you all so much for watching, commenting, subscribing, all that stuff. We love this whole fucking thing that we've created here, and we love that you love it too. And
this massive metal empire.
Reciprocating love.
Yes, love. Just here you go. Here's some now. Just coming from Possessed.
That's what I say. It came from your nipples, and that's even
Have some love.
weirder.
Have some fucking love.
Some Jammin' John nipple love, because that's exactly what he squeezed right there. No, but seriously, guys, thank you all so much, and we will catch you later.